I like that.
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I
All
can.
right.
I
It
can.
must have been a weird loose connection thing, but I think it's an opportunity to start over again. I don't
Yeah,
know how you edit or these kind of things. So if you want to
we can do
start,
that. We can do that. Yeah. And I also wanted to like thank you just for taking some time off for doing this. It was like I didn't even like, yeah. Anyway, you can continue or restart. Yeah.
okay. Do you need to for your editing? Do you need to ask the question?
Um well, yeah, I can do that. That will, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm having welcome Rachel. Sorry, now I'm messing it up. Scarlett. Um I'm having Scarlett on for today. She is working at Houghton Hall of Arts, a community in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm nervous right now. You maybe sense that in my voice. um, but it's just incredible to me to have like a conversation like this from a place that I went into a month ago and now mailed them, and have taken this time and space to talk about the space that you create and the community that you're building. So yeah, thank you for that.
And what are you most
And
curious about?
well, I'm curious about, as I said before, we I usually start with this introduction and ask the guest where they're coming from, like this some kind of story, and what led you to the work that you're doing now. So, yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Scarlet Rivera, she, her, hers, and
Mhm.
I'm born and raised in New York. I grew up on Long Island, which is about an hour and a half from where we are on Manhattan Island.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I went to school for the arts. When I was young, I was mostly a musician. I played a lot of music. And I took a class for fun and realized I wanted to be in theater. So I went to undergrad school in Westchester County, New York, at a place
Yeah.
called Manhattanville College. And I
Uh-huh.
studied dance, theater, music, and sociology there. And then I went to graduate school at Brooklyn College, where I studied performance and interactive media arts, also known
Mhm.
as PIMA. And
Okay, yeah.
pretty much through all of that education,
Uh-huh.
I really learned to be a collaborator, and that's probably one of my strongest skills as a community builder.
Hmm.
Um, I joined a theater company called Irondale Ensemble Project, and they created a new theater space in the early 2000s, and I was a part of that ensemble, that theater ensemble. And I was in that company for about just under 10 years, making all sorts of off Broadway shows, producing work, teaching in schools. And
Wow.
then I created my own theater company called Letter of Marque. And we are in our 11th season, just about to be in our 12th year.
Congratulations.
And the landscape of my life changed a lot. I also worked in a few famous, beautiful restaurants in New York City. And in 2017, I became a restaurant manager as well. And during the pandemic, when
Uh,
everything shut down, the theater, the arts, restaurants were not plentiful at all. It was very hard to do or find work. And
mm.
um, I returned to restaurant management in 2021 and very early. Still, a lot of people were at home without working, and I went back to work. And I then a year later had a child, and that led me to maternity leave and leaving work. And
Right.
that created an opportunity for me to work in this space. My theater company had already been rehearsing here, Christina, we met when you came through, when you visited our space, is the co-founder, and we met because she auditioned for my theater company and became a member in 2019. And we were rehearsing in this space. It was an empty space, and they finally were able to find someone, uh, or they finally got the approval to hire someone to help see if this building, Houghton Hall Arts Community, could be a rehearsal venue for theater arts. So
Right.
I was hired, right, and I came right after maternity leave, and I left the restaurant business, and that's
Mhm.
Zoom forward. That's where you met me, and I've been
Mhm.
here for just a little bit over a year, and really using my foundation in collaborative arts and theater to be a facilitator of other artists in the space here.
Right. Wow. That's something so well. I think if you were to speak with someone usually here in Denmark, that would be, and to me that is too, but I think that's almost like when I hear stories in the United States or from podcasts and so going from such a different business to like from restaurants to arts. It's like wow, like what do you like I mean there's of course there's companies and people who does that too here, but I'm curious about what you've brought into like what would you say, I guess, like is it, do you feel like it's creativeness, or what do you feel like you've brought most into from being in the restaurant business and to an arts, or is it more like what you've learned from school and arts and performance that you've maybe then seen in another way and then kind of brought it onto what you're doing now, or do you even see it that way?
Well, I think I
Like
have
what makes sense?
a few responses. Is
Right.
that it's quite the stereotype to
Uh-huh.
have an artist or a theater person in the restaurant as a waiter. It's
Uh-huh.
I would say that's a stereotype because
Uh-huh.
um, in order to sell food and connect, it really is being one on one with people and really showing them a great time. When people go out to restaurants, they usually are spending money to enjoy this experience, and
Yeah.
performers artists can help be a part of delivering that experience. And that
Mhm.
was one of the things I really loved about, especially being a bartender, is that you're really there to be of service and create. You can turn somebody's day completely around by the way you treat them and the
Mm.
way you provide service to them. And the same thing,
That's what you did for
it,
me there. What you guys did for me that day. I was like, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
and being a manager, it's allowed
Mhm.
me to take some of that understanding of what makes a business work and what
Mhm.
doesn't make a business work. It helps me apply that to like how can we continue as artists to build on the resources we have and make it work. Um, and I think sometimes as an artist, those managerial skills can be hard because you want to be thinking and dreaming. And I
Mhm.
would say even things like that now are kind of hard for me. I'm like, oh, do I have to look at the numbers?
Mhm.
But there's a famous clown that I love. And
Uh-huh.
one of his mottos is, there is no work, there is only life. Right?
Mhm.
And that's something I always try to
Wow.
remind myself is that, even when it's tough, even where you feel like, oh, you're dragging your feet to get through something, that easily with a mindset, it's like, well, I'm creating this, I'm choosing this, I want this. How do I get behind it? And I think that's the same thing.
Mhm.
It's like, I would love to be on the stage creating the work in the rehearsal room, but there
Mhm.
is a part of me that feels of service to artists to make sure they have clean rehearsal spaces, that I treat them as humans and not just numbers. So I think all of that is really
Mhm.
in a nice relationship between working in restaurants and also working as a manager of a rehearsal facility.
Yeah, yeah. Has that, yeah, has, what I'm thinking, that, has that, I guess you said that already in that question. I'm just kind of taking that in because that's, I don't know, that's so, interesting. And, I think it's also, um, I don't know. I think there's something about for me about that it's the first time that I'm like I don't know if it's that or thinking out loud if I can
Mhm.
even like make my thoughts um come together. But how do you, or is that even like something that you um I guess how do you continuously like work on that balance? Because I think that's something that I'm like feel like I'm feeling that in the sense of I'm wanting to create things, but also having to sometimes put the creative, well, have the creativeness and have the arts and that, but also thinking about the logistics and like as you said, the numbers and so. Um, how how do you as a community um tackle that, if you can say that?
Well, I'll go back to what I was saying. One of my strongest parts of me and my
Ah,
training is being collaborative and
right.
knowing that um, being alone is not the answer. Uh,
Mhm.
Using your resources, asking questions, connecting with other people.
Mhm.
I believe in group mind, that we as a group are smarter together than as individuals.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only way to find balance because I know I
Mhm.
don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I'm still learning every day. I'm also my son is 20 months old. I'm still learning how to be a mother and an
Um,
artist and a
yeah.
all of those things. So I think that being the kind of person that says, I don't know all the answers, and that there are the other people who've done this before. So what do they have to say about it?
Right.
I think that's how I
Yeah.
that's how I try to strive on not getting to
Mm.
burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also a question from the part of me that sometimes feel like I can be like fully alone and everything, but also I'm fully aware that I'm not, and that it's like, yeah, I have people around me, but I don't know, that parts of me that sometimes feel like that.
Yeah,
Mm.
if I was in my 20s, I was more convinced that people were the problem and uh, that you know, me alone is going to be more effective. And then
Uh,
somehow I really grew out of that, and
mm.
I need people very much.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think I don't have you ever been to Europe before?
Ever been to what?
Europe before. Have you been to Europe?
Oh, I've been to
No.
Europe before. Not many places, but I have.
You have?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, okay. It's because I was wondering about like that we have this thing very common that I think I wanted to say it because I'm so inspired that about like how I think your mindset towards it, that which is what you mentioned, that is one of your like strong sides, collaborating, because we do that here in Denmark, but I think we have a more I feel like, and I don't know if it, well, yeah, we do have like a more sense of limited perspective, in that sense that we feel like sometimes if we like collaborate with someone, then it's how it will turn out will be um I don't know, it's like if we do it ourselves it would be better, but it will always, we've seen that with history and what has this turned out, that things get better when we are together in it. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's just I think United States in that sense is really inspiring to me in that sense. And New York, I've been to Pennsylvania and New York and Florida, but going more into what you guys do, you have spaces where you invite people, or invite that people can come and share their art. And so could you tell us more about how that works? And
Yeah,
yeah.
well, Houghton Hall Arts Community is predominantly a rehearsal venue. So you'll
Yeah.
have theater companies rehearsing their shows before they bring them to stage. So you'll have, yeah, like people for 3 weeks rehearsing every day, and then they'll move into their theater somewhere else and do their shows. But there's also people who are training with their companies. There's also folks who are teaching classes and exchanging their expertise.
Mm.
There's also music groups. It's quite eclectic. And what
Collective.
eclectic,
All
like
right. Okay.
very
What?
many
Okay.
different types of
Okay.
arts and artists, and
Okay.
um,
Thanks.
that we attempt to serve, because there's also dancers,
Mm.
and this space is owned by the Church of the Transfiguration, which is
Mm.
175 years old.
Wow.
Very
Cool.
landmark and well known, and on the same campus, because I'll say that the building that we are in is is connected all the way to 30th. We're in 30th Street all the way to 29th Street. There's
Uh-huh.
also the Episcopal Actors Guild, and they
Mm.
are 100 years old. And what happened is that in the early days, there was a gentleman that was looking to have his actor friend um, have a funeral, and
Mm.
because acting was a frowned upon profession then,
Mm.
another church said, well, we don't do that here, but try that little church around the corner. And the Church
Mm.
of the Transfiguration, their nickname from that time is Little Church Around the Corner.
Uh-huh.
And
That's
uh,
so sweet. So sweet.
so the theater community never forgot that. And many artists of that time and in the future attended church or were associated. So
Mhm.
there is this century plus long connection to this church and the theater arts. So when this building went vacant, the tenants before us left, unrelated to the pandemic, but around then, it seemed like we need to give it a try and go back and serve the arts and see if that is something that will help us keep this building. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, so that's what we've been doing, and that's why I was brought on as well, is
Okay.
to see, can we serve artists, and can it therefore also serve the church's mission, even though there's nothing religious that's happening here in this building.
Uh-huh.
uh, Even though some people have religious experiences doing their art, I will say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it's a very it's a beautiful thing. And for me, the stakes are
Mm.
very high because, of course, I want to be a part of an institution that lasts for a long time. But we are in a
Mhm.
experimental period, learning how do we make it work.
Mm. Okay, yeah, yeah. How is that?
Well, at first it was very lonely. It
Mm,
feels like you're running a startup. You know,
mm,
when
yeah.
I started here,
Mm,
couldn't find us on Google. There was very limited information on the website or the internet.
mm,
Didn't know what picture. There was no pictures of the rooms or anything. So there was a lot of starting up. But it's been really great because when people walk in here and you have alluded based on your experience,
uh-huh.
they do give me feedback that we are building what we're striving for, which is an artistic home and
Mm,
a welcoming community for people
mm.
to feel welcome and a place where they're really excited to come back to.
Yeah, remember the picture certainly that you had on the wall right when you come in the door and on the right side or hanging. I don't know if it's like about 8 pictures or paintries. What were they? They were paintries, right?
Yeah, there were paintings on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, still are, I think so. What are they from artists that like only have been or like have been at the space, or are they from outside too? Or
Well, the artist that you experienced was directly connected to someone who works at the space here.
okay.
Um, the ultimate goal is to have a rotating gallery of artists, um, but that would require somebody else to take care of it. Because right now,
Mm,
I am the only employee of the space. There
mhm,
are,
yeah.
other helpers, of course. Again, I'm not trying to get people to help all the time, but as far
Yeah.
as that would be a place where we would love to grow is have an
Right.
art curator handling the art.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Also just asking because I'm curious about how would that work at a place like that if that were to happen. Not saying that like why don't you do that or something, but
Yeah, yeah.
no, I don't know about that. That's yeah. I don't know. Maybe yeah. Yeah. A little stupid question, but yeah. I think that's just my I guess my thing imagination. That's but yeah, so thank you for sharing that also. Um and um I think when um I wanted to like say that your website though is not that I'm like a specialist about website or anything, but I really like that you have like videos and pictures of like every room that you have in there. Um about like what size are about the rooms that you have. Is that something that um like how do you find that artists consider that, or what is like the more um I guess what do you find, because I would assume you do that from what you know, but I don't even know if this question even makes sense. But like, what because I know my girlfriend does arts, and she was also thinking about coming on here maybe for another conversation. We can talk about that for another time. But would you want to do that though?
I'm
Um,
not sure. I'm sure. I'm not sure, but maybe. I mean,
right.
again,
Okay.
I'm always open to a conversation.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Um. Anyway, what yeah, what is it that I guess an artist when they come that they look most for? Um.
Well, I'm going to say that, especially post pandemic,
Right.
down, um, people have to move in a, I'll say, scrappy way fast.
Yeah.
They might say, oh my gosh, I need space tomorrow. And
Yeah.
they are scrambling around the internet trying to find a place.
Right.
And because we're fairly new to the game as a rehearsal space, a lot of
Mm,
people don't know about us yet. And when they
Mm.
say, how come I didn't know about this place? It's,
Mm.
because there's just so many other institutions people are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So the more information that people can find without having to call, just helps
Mm.
facilitate all the steps.
Right,
So
exactly.
they'll easily be able to say,
Makes the
okay, well,
process easier.
my cast is this big. Okay, we can take this room. When we very first started, I needed to give everyone a tour because I
Mm.
didn't
Yeah,
have the stuff ready.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
hard for them to imagine
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah,
everything looked like. So those are
yeah.
there to spark the imagination. And I do think,
Mm.
though, even if people want to rehearse for a long time or have an event here, they do still prefer just to come in because I know myself, I'm actually bad with space and dimensions.
Uh-huh.
I need to be there to
Right,
really imagine it.
right. Yeah, I think that's what my quest is kind of coming from, because I like when it's like when a space is shown, because I'm also with the podcast. I like when it's shown actually on the website, but I also like to like have been there and like can feel like how is this gonna feel like when I am there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the dimensions and so yeah, that's a really interesting part about that, I think. But that's also just I guess important for yeah, a lot of creators. I see. Um, yeah, I'm I don't even know what to say. I've learned a lot. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to share this too with my girlfriend, because she does arts and has been to an art school, and I would love to because I've done a little bit of art, but I feel like um also I'm just 22, so but I have so much to learn, and it's like from like her perspective of it, and from what you know as an adult who has worked so much more with it than we have done it. So I think I wanna round it off here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for it, Scarlett.
Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure to, talk about what you're doing, especially if it's creative and you're passionate about it. So thank you for inviting me. And
Mhm.
I'm glad you walked in off the street visiting
Me
in New York
too.
City.
Yeah, yeah, I
And make
really.
sure to reach out and give a visit next time you're in town.
I'm gonna do. I'm actually having some thoughts about that, but yeah, I'll share that with you on an email. Um, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thank you for it, and thank you for your time.
All
Uh,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Best luck to all.
yes, yeah. Bye.